Iyanu, the demon in your father's house, swapped your ever-shining glory for a dimly light one. Hence, your adversity. So we have to pray in the name of as many supreme beings as possible. An excerpt from page 47 of Inferno of Silence by Tolu A. Akinyemi. Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel and to the review of Inferno of Silence by Tolu A. Akinyemi. This is my second time experiencing Tolu A. Akinyemi's write-up after discovering the book Never Play Games with the Devil, which is a collection of amazing poems. Picking up Inferno of Silence was quite amazing to me. I love the author's writing style, I love his description features, and I love all the stories encapsulated in this single book. It's actually a collection of amazing short stories that I find quite amazing, that I find quite introspective, that I find quite relatable to what is happening in the Nigerian sort of society today. I love to say that I love the fact that most of the story that is contained in this book, it's somewhat relatable. It has some concept that is relatable to what is happening in the Nigerian society today. And that's one of the reasons we actually found the book quite amazing. It is truly an interesting read and it owns my sincere and heartfelt recommendation. So before I proceed in my short review of this book, my review of the book is actually going to be a spoiler free. I won't be talking about everything in entirety. I'll be showcasing some stories within the book and giving you my spoiler free and my opinion of the book. So I'd love to read to you about Tolu A. Akinyemi. Tolu Akinyemi is the lead business consultant of the Royal Lion Newcastle Ltd, a business support, management consultancy, and book publishing company. Tolu is a notable conference speaker and a former headline act at Great Northern Slam, Crossing the Tile Festival, Fultonbury Art and Music Festival, among many others. This book actually is a collection of some amazing short stories that really made for an interesting read. I love to pick the title of the stories one after the other and give you my own personal opinion of it. So I'd love to start with the story titled Black Lives Matters. Black Lives Matters is a story of a young boy, and this part is actually written in the first person point of view. So the protagonist tells a story of how he loves football and how he has been a player in a particular team in Ibadan. So he told the story of the death of his friend who was killed in a sort of a very cruel manner. How sometimes he got the invitation to play in some state in Nigeria, and at a particular day they had a sort of a flat tire and they had a very ghastly accident, but he was actually able to make it out. And from here, something actually happened. They were attacked by some gang of robbers who came, searched them, took away their precious things and left. And so, the scenario followed on the intervention of the SARS, which actually came at a later time, much long after the robbery had already took place. So after the whole scenario, after talking about the section that the protagonist actually have, his experience living in Nigeria, his passion for football, and how he's so determined about his skill bringing him into a limelight. So he eventually got the invitation to play for a particular team outside Nigeria in the UK. So getting to the UK was actually a different sort of experience for the protagonist here, as he faced quite a lot of odd things that he is not so much familiar with while living back then in Nigeria. He was shocked at the way people stared at him, react to him, treat him as if it never actually mattered. At first, he did not know about the racial discrimination or the sort of the way whereby people were actually going to treat you because of your skin color in the UK, until he met an Indian man who told him that, oh, it seems as if you are new here and I can see the way you're reacting so far. So the Indian man actually told him about the reality of being a black man in the UK. So with this, he began to get some knowledge about racial discrimination and how some people, treat you based on the color of your skin. And one of the pain of the protagonist based on the writing style was the fact that he even faced this sort of discrimination even amidst his team. Sometimes when he score or win some goals, instead of the coach selecting him to deliver a speech, he would select another white person in place of him. So all of this actually made him quite angry. All of this made him to look for a way to revenge. So he met his friend who is also a footballer and also a black person like him, and they had some nice conversation around this. He told him that you just have to man up, you just have to take it lightly. You cannot do much to defend yourself, and that's how we live here. So the protagonist in the book was quite angry about this, and he determined in his mind that he's going to make sure that these people see the worth of a black man. He's going to make sure that these people see his value and treat him with respect. And so he determined and studied hard, and with the fact that he was able to make some nice goals, nice calls, and even win the team, it is his own conviction to prove to the white people or the people around him that black does not equal inferior. The main concept of this particular Black Lives Matters is to talk about the inferiority and the superiority of the black color, and trying to shed light on the fact that our skin color do not determine if we're either inferior or superior, and trying to bring an alteration to racism among humans. So following on from the next short story, which is actually my favorite, it's the In the Trap of Seers. This is my most admirable stories in this book, because some of the story or some of the concept or some of the conversation that exists between both characters is a look into what is happening today in the Nigerian sort of society. The story followed the protagonist Iyanu, whose mother had termed the backward nation or the no progress sort of alive to the possession of demons. Her mother had seen Iyanu as someone who is possessed with some probably evil spirit, and because of her possession had hindered her success. Ami is a mother of Iyanu, and oftentimes she would invite her that, oh, come here, Iyanu, we are going to see a seer in so location tomorrow. We are going to have a look into the problem of your life and try to solve it. And you know, every time Mami comes up with this sort of discussion, it always infuriates Iyanu, but she has nothing to do rather than to just accept the invitation, in as much as it's going to make her mother happy. I think one of the clarifications that the author seek to make in this particular short stories, though it wasn't well expounded on, but in my own opinion, from my own reading techniques and illustration and interpretation, is the fact that Iyanu was actually not made to pursue her own career. Like, her father was the one who actually selected a course for her to study in the university. She has always loved art, painting, sculptures, but her father wanted her to study law and to become a lawyer. The fact of her father's interest in her being a lawyer was revealed towards the ending part of the story, which was where they begin to express some sort of regretful nature to it. So once they get to the house of the seer, Mami presented the issue and said, here's my daughter, she's 23 years old. Our mates have been in the university and graduated from the university. Some are even married, but here she is with nothing to do with her life. Please help look into the problem and let's solve it. So that's how Mami always take Iyanu from one seer to the other. There's another funny instance that happened when Mami took Iyanu to visit an Afar. An Afar is like an Islam priest. I'm not sure if I'm correct about that, but that's how I love to interpret it. So once they get to the house of the Afar, first thing that Iyanu noticed was the fact that the man was looking right into her breast. The man was secretly admiring her. So to cut a long story short, she was quite surprised when she discovered that the man's organ had gone erect just by sighting her. She was quite infuriated, and when the Afar said that she would have to undergo some cleansing inside a particular room, she said something against it and said, are you going to examine me with your pain? And the mother said, shut up, I have to cooperate with him if you want to be delivered from the demon that is attacking and destroying your destiny. So the story actually continues with Mami switching and moving from one priest to another. Sometimes she would visit a Christian today, and tomorrow an Islam priest, and tomorrow a traditionalist, and tomorrow a seer, a foreseer, an herbalist, etc. And that's how Iyanu began to get fed up of all of this issue. And I need to ship this in, that the story of Iyanu is a very wide illustration and description of what some people's story looks like here in Nigeria. This is something that is portrayed even in the media, how most people are often trapped in the coven of the seer. And I actually found this part quite contemplative and arousing some sort of argumentation, and I'm looking forward to having a conversation with Tolu A Akinyemi on this particular book to expound more on some facts that I find beyond my understanding. However, the reality, if a demon can actually control human progress on earth, or if some forces can impede the sources of a man, is something that I myself have been contemplating for a very long time, and is something that I actually expound in my yet to be published poetry book, Escape from the Unseen Dungeons. But the reality of this sort of effect and the situation surrounding this particular story and context is something that is very widespread, something that is very rampant, something that is very popular in the Nigerian sort of society. So the story actually moves on and goes into the point whereby Mami took Iyanu to another person, and here they were made to perform a sort of a spiritual cleansing in a particular river at the midnight by 12 a.m. This part is actually very hilarious, but it follows a tragic event with Mami. Also, I love to ship in that some part of this story in the Trap of Sia also has to do with the story of Mami herself and her husband. Her husband has always wanted Mami to produce a male child instead of Iyanu, which is actually one of the reasons why Iyanu's father actually hates her so much. He had longed to have a male child. And the fact of the controversy between a male child or a female child is also another thing that have been very popular, or is something that have been creating problem and missed couples in the Nigerian sort of society. And that's one of the reasons why I feel the book, it's very relatable to what is happening in the society. And from reading Tolu A Akinyemi, Never Play Games with the Devil, and from picking up another book by him, Inferno of Silence, I've come to realize that Tolu A Akinyemi is like an author who loves writing stories that are relatable, who love writing stories that are very real, and you would feel like as if this is not a fiction. It seems as if this is a story of a particular human life who has been extracted into a novel and turned to be a fiction story. That's why I love his books, because of them are a look into what is happening in our environment today. To cut the long story short, Mami actually went for the cleansing together with her daughter Iyanu, but something horrendous happened, something very tragic happened. After Mami had been immersed into the water for the first time, the second time, and the third time, I don't know if it was intentional from the afar or it was a mistake. She slipped and the afar actually left her to drown inside the water. So that's how the death of Mami came about. And following on from that instant, the story, it was being known that Iyanu's destiny had been swapped with another brothers of his who lives in the UK, or another person had took a glory, a success, and used it for his own good and betterment, etc. These are words that you get to see mostly in the Nigerian sort of society, among people's conversation, in religious spaces, in churches, in mosques, among the traditional worshippers, etc. Oh, Mami actually died. Following on her death, Iyanu's father came back apologizing to her. He came back and said, "Iyanu, my daughter." And Iyanu was actually surprised because when her mother was still alive, he had told her that you must leave, or that he will leave her since she cannot produce a male child, and that Iyanu is a bastard. Iyanu was quite surprised about her father's nice behavior, and she was sad because it had to come in a time where her mother was no more. So this following on, Iyanu's uncle, I think Uncle JJ thereabout, handing her over a check of 3 million naira for education. This particular story is my favorite and it's quite horrific, but it has some sort of message, some sort of information and lesson to pass on, many of which are quite interesting and dynamic to me. I won't be talking about everything in entirety. I'll just be mentioning some stories like I said earlier on, but I also love to make mention of the particular story titled Everybody Don't Kulumenta. This is actually very nice because it talks about the effect of mental health and the ordeal, what it looks like to live in Lagos. This part is actually very funny. It has some sort of satirical qualities and it's also made for an interesting discussion. Then talking about the titular story itself, Inferno of Silence, is a story of a young man called Kunle. Oh, I felt Kunle pain reading through the actual story. I felt its problem. I felt the issue that he had with Adaeze and how Adaeze treated him as if he never exists. And that's one of the things why I love about this story. It is like, human life experiences being transferred into a fiction story. Most of the thing, or most of the circumstances, the problem, the issue that surrounds Kunle's scenario, talking about the first time when he gets married to Adaeze, talking about their honeymoon in Dubai, talking about Kunle losing her job, and talking about the aftermath of how Adaeze began to treat him in the house. Some of the most funny thing that I read is the fact that a man who does not have money is not allowed to have an erection. And all of these features, all of this story, all of the scenarios concerning Kunle's experience is quite amazing. There's some nice character that comes up along Kunle's story, which are his friends, some of whom are right from the UK. They also add some sort of nice trait to the novel. Then talking about the particular story titled Return Journey, which is a story of Ade, whom I consider a womanizer in the book. Ade actually have some sort of very silly experiences with different sort of women, etc. And the story of Ade itself also made for an interesting discussion. I would love to talk about the book in entirety. I want to keep my review spoiler free as possible. I also enjoy some stories like Trouble in Umudike and Blinded by Silence, all of which truly made for an interesting discussion, all of which made for an interesting read. And I am a fan of Tolu A. Akinyemi's book. After discovering his first collection of poetry, Never Play Games with the Devil, it's quite amazing that I picked up Inferno of Silence, and I love to say that I love the book. I love the writing style, I love the use of some Nigerian language, some of which Yoruba language were used, Igbo language were used, Pidgin English were used, some slangs in Nigeria was used, and it's quite funny. It's quite funny. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention a particular funny scenario that actually took place in the titular story itself, Inferno of Silence. That's a very funny experience with Mama Nosa, who is like a neighbor who always asks for, that kind of labor that always asks for salt, for mashes, all in the name of gossiping, all in the name of nosing around matter that doesn't concern them. The book is actually very nice. Some part of it, I was reading some parts and I was laughing all alone because it really makes for an interesting discussion. It makes for an interesting read, and I'm recommending this book for lovers of fiction and literature at large. If you'd love to get a copy of Inferno of Silence, I left a link in the description part of this review for you to get a copy directly on Amazon. And I'm looking forward to having a conversation with Tolu A. Akinyemi concerning some deep, intricate, and some contemplative fact and notion that I've jotted down while I read through Inferno of Silence. Thank you very much for watching my review. If you're yet to click on the subscribe button, I want to urge you to please click on the subscribe button over there. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you can also get notified anytime I release new videos. And if you love this book, I'd love you to leave me a comment in the comment section. Let me know what you think about it and let me know if you'd love to pick it up. Thank you so much for watching. See you in my next video. Goodbye.